The Scheme is a BBC Scotland docu-soap set in Kilmarnock, following the lives of 6 families living on a housing scheme. Across the series, we're introduced to a wide range of characters, some chaotic, some funny, some struggling, and even Bullet the dog, who becomes one of the most positively received figures in the show. When it first aired, the programme was broadcast on primetime television and even rivaled major shows like EastEnders, highlighting just how widely it was watched and discussed. It was built around strong personalities and everyday moments, but behind that lies a more complex question about how these lives are represented. This video argues that the scheme constructs a selective and often negative image of working class life, shaped not just by what is shown, but by how the docu-soap format turns real lives into entertainment and leaves them open to judgment. On the surface, the programme feels entertaining.
Happy Larry, could not be happier.
Moments like this present participants as humorous, likeable and full of personality. There's a sense of energy here, a kind of chaotic optimism that makes the programme engaging to watch, and at times it even feels like these lives are being celebrated. However, this impression does not last for long. Instead, much of the programme focuses on moments of crisis, crime, addiction and unemployment.
That man had says he called him all the bin Laden bastards and all that. But Brian Kennedy, the fella didn't call him that. But obviously just says that to the police to get him done.
And give him the whack for it. You give him the full whack.
Scenes such as the young man being sentenced to prison while his family reacts emotionally emphasises instability and hardship, presenting these experiences as central to life on the scheme. As Law and Mooney argue, the series has been criticised as a form of poverty porn, where extreme situations such as imprisonment and family breakdown are prioritised for dramatic effect. What is important here is not just the presence of crime, but the absence of everyday stability and routine, resulting in a narrow and negative image of working class life. This becomes even more clear in the portrayal of addiction. In one of the most shocking moments in the series, James is shown using heroin and talks the audience through the process, making his addiction highly visible on screen.
That was up there, Jules.
James normally hides his needles in his own room.
I just feel like breaking down, honest to God, man. I just feel like sounding just pathetic or his attention seeking. I just want to, I wish I could just do that on there, just hit a wee button and then I was ever know about the right people around about me, because I have people that care and love about me. But my head's fucked up. So this is doing it to me.
Scenes like this are difficult to watch, but they also invite the audience to view participants through a lens of judgment. These kinds of representations contribute to the production of stigma, where certain groups are constructed as socially and morally problematic. As a result, moments like this risk encouraging judgment rather than understanding. The focus on conflict and drama reflects the conventions of the docu-soap format. Moments such as physical confrontation feel intense and immediate.
Hoover Graston.
Uppergrass what?
Hoover Graston.
Look at that much mean. You all got a punch in the face.
But they also highlight how the programme prioritises emotion and tension over more ordinary aspects of everyday life. Reality television does not simply observe reality, it constructs it through editing, storytelling and selection. This becomes even more significant when we consider how participants themselves describe the production process. Marvin Baird, who features in the series, has suggested that filming took place over a long period, with producers regularly present and shaping what was captured. He argues that while more chaotic or dramatic moments were emphasised, more vulnerable aspects of his life, such as struggles with mental health, were largely left out. He also suggests that certain storylines, including his relationship with Dana, were presented in ways that did not fully reflect reality. This reinforces the idea that moments like conflict and violence are not simply observed, but selected and amplified, raising important questions about how real this programme actually is. However, the programme is not entirely one-dimensional. Moments showing residents attempting to reopen a community centre suggest a more complex reality.
There's nothing in the area for them today, like the younger ones. There is. I mean, you think there's a lot of Waynes about 12. You see them all walking about there smoking. but they're also taking hash. I mean, at 12 you're all.
Where people are actively trying to improve their environment and support one another. These scenes highlight efforts to break the cycles seen elsewhere in the series. However, they are relatively rare and often overshadowed by more dramatic storylines. As a result, the overall impression remains focused on crisis rather than change. In conclusion, the scheme demonstrates how reality television can construct a selective and often stigmatised image of working class life. By focusing on crisis and conflict over everyday reality, the programme encourages judgment rather than understanding. Ultimately, it shapes how these lives are perceived and raises important questions about how working class communities are represented to wider audiences.